All right, testing 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Myths of Core Engagement workshop. So this workshop is going to be full of information for you on how to gain abdominal strength, hopefully relieve any back pain that you might experience, and even get a clear picture of what it means to engage your core. So you might hear us say a lot in classes, your instructors say, tight core, strong core, engage your core, all these words, and you're probably like, I think I'm doing it. I don't know though. It can get kind of complex. So we're going to take this time to break it down so you can get a full grasp of what this really means. So the 3 myths that we are hopefully going to bring to clarity today that we hear a lot of is sucking it in engages the core. Crunches is how you get a 6-pack, and back pain during exercise is normal. So we're going to debunk those 3 myths. You might want to get out a pen and paper, and you can also do some of these movements along with us if you learn by doing instead of writing something down. So we're going to start off by learning the anatomy and function of the abdominal muscles. All right, so we actually have 3 major muscle groups for the abdominal muscles. That's going to be your transverse abdominals, your rectus abdominals, and your internal and external obliques. So let's start with transverse abdominals. What exactly is this muscle? So this is the muscle that is on the inside behind your rectus abdominis, behind your 6-pack, that is like the corset around your body. So this goes all the way from your spine, from your ribs to the hips, all the way to the front, okay? So once again, that's like your corset. That's what holds all of your organs in. That's how you get that hourglass, that thin figure. You also have the rectus abdominals. Like I said earlier, that's what you would see as the 6-pack, right? And then after that, we have the internal and the external obliques. So the internal and the external obliques are on the outside, so on the outer edges of your ribs to your hips, and the internal obliques go inside the hip, and the external obliques go outside the hips. All right, so now that we have gone over our 3 main muscle groups of the abdominals, we're going to have Brittany come in here, and she's going to help me explain on how exactly these muscle groups work. So she's going to come out here, and we're going to go over exactly how these muscle groups work. So we have, with any muscle group actually, we have the extension and contraction of the muscle. So for example, if Brittany is extending her bicep out, right, from her muscle, we have 2 contact points. We have the shoulder and the elbow. So if she's extending, right, it's long. That muscle is nice and long. When she's working that muscle, when she flexes or contracts, that muscle group is actually shortening on the side. Okay, so she is bringing she is shortening that muscle belly. Okay, so that muscle group is working. The same thing goes for our abdominal muscles. So what are our 2 points of contact? We have the ribs and we have the hips. All right, so that's where our muscles attach to, as well as the back of the spine as well. But most of the time, we want to think ribs and hips. So Brittany's going to show us a neutral position of the spine. You want to stand to the side. Yep, there you go. Of the spine, and then the hips, and then the rib cage. Good. So Brittany's going to put her hands up in front to the side. Yep. So now we can get a good full view right here. So this is Brittany neutral. So she just has a slight bend in that low back. Her head is stacked over the spine, so her spine is nice and straight. And then her ribs are very neutral as well, so they're not flaring out, they're not tucking in, nothing of that sort. Now, if we want to have full abdominal engagement, Brittany is going to tuck her tailbone and try to draw that rib cage into the hips. Good. So go ahead, draw the rib cage into the hips, and you can do this with Brittany as well. So as you can see, her glutes have tightened. She has shifted her abdominals so that that rib cage is closer to the hip muscle. Very nice. Thank you, Brittany. Okay, so that is our extension and contraction. All right, so that kind of debunks our myth number 1, right? So when you hear suck it in, engage the core, what do? We flare those ribs out and we get really tall, right? Yeah, that's not really engaging our core. It's sucking it in, right? I feel like my grandma has said that when we take pictures, suck it in, engage the core, right? Yeah, no, that's not the case at all. We actually want to tuck the rib cage as well. All right, so let's get into this a little bit deeper, and let's go over a few things of what is super common. The first thing is back pain, right? So why do we have back pain? And also, why, when I'm doing my core exercises, do I feel it in my hips? So maybe when you're doing a hollow body hold or even leg raises, you're like, okay, I feel it in my core, but I really feel it in my hips. All right, that's super common. You're not alone in this, but we want to isolate the abdominals in order to really, really strengthen the abdominals and see a big difference as we do our core exercises either during class or in your own workout. So we're going to go over how to deactivate those hip flexors, right? Because now we just want to isolate. We just want the abs and no hips, right? So why are we mainly hip dominant? Well, if we're sitting a lot, what are our legs doing? They're doing this, right? They're scrunching up. Those hips are getting really, really tight, just like this. They can also get really, really tight when they're overcompensating. So maybe we have a poor core region. Okay, so we got to fix that. So we're going to teach you on how you can practice deactivating those hip flexors so you're only focused on that core. So if you have a chair at home or a bench, you can easily do this, okay? And Brittany's going to go ahead and demonstrate. She's going to lay flat on her back, and we're going to go over how you can deactivate those hip flexors. So she's going to raise those heels up. Now this isn't some crazy exercise, right? Anyone can do this. And we're going to go over what it feels like to just work that core. And she's going to dig those heels down into the bench. Good. She's going to lift those glutes and squeeze those glutes. Her pelvis is also going to tilt. So go ahead, tilt that pelvis, Brittany. Good. And squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Raise those hips. Good. So do you feel those glutes really locking in, Brittany? She's feeling it. She's like, they are locked. Good. Now what she's going to do is she's going to pretend like those knees are slightly going in because we don't want them to flare out, right? So she's going to pretend like she's holding tension there. Good. All right. So we're going to get Brittany moving so she doesn't get too tired on us. Good. All right. Go ahead. Extend those arms out, Brittany. Good. And I want you to sit up. Good. Come back down. Good. So what did you want to do most when you did this? Right, right. So you want to, she said you want to start from the core, not from the neck, right? So our goal here is because you're going to feel yourself fighting yourself a little bit. And that means we haven't isolated that core. We don't know what that feels like. So this might take a while. You might have to practice this for a little bit. So Brittany, once again, she's going to lift up through the glutes. Good. But I want you to keep those glutes raised, Brittany. Keep those glutes really, really tight. Now sit up and keep those hips up. Good. Good. Yep. Keep them up. Keep them up. Good. And go ahead. Rest. Awesome job. Good. So when you keep those hips up and you are going into that sit-up position, those hips aren't working. Now, if you feel jerky on it, if you feel like those hips want to come down, that means we're hip dominant. That means we really, really want to focus on that core engagement. And so you might want to spend maybe 5 or 10 minutes every day practicing this. You don't even need a rep range. Just practice it until it becomes more natural and you don't feel jerky. All right, so that is one way that you can focus on deactivating those hip flexors and focus on isolating those abdominals. Thank you, Brittany. So, another benefit to this, so if you're the person where like, I have low back pain when I do these exercises, one thing is we're not isolating the core, we're not protecting that spine, but we're activating those hip flexors, right? So even if you do have that low back pain, I don't want you to be fearful of just practicing this. Take it slow and just do what you can and see if you can really get that core isolated. All right, so once you practice that, you can add in to different exercises, and that can also create an understanding and become more natural in all the other exercises that you do. So we're going to go ahead and show you guys 2 of our favorite exercises to build ab strength, but also 2 exercises that we see people doing completely wrong. All right, so Brittany's going to demonstrate for us again. She's going to have to do some good stretching after this. So Brittany's going to go into a plank position of what we see a lot. Good, yep, so we see the hips raised, right? And her wrists are tucked, yeah, or they're too low. That's not good either. She's up on her toes though, so that's good. Her wrists are stacked. That's really good too. All right, and what she's doing good, we see this a lot too. This is awesome, right? Because her back is flat and she's up on her toes and she's nice and stacked, right? But in this position, she is even activating her hips. So how do we do that? Brittany, I want you to draw those ribs to your hips as best as you can. Kind of get an arch right here. Good, yes, yes, yes. So here, she is fully activating. Squeeze those glutes. Good, tuck that rib cage in. Her abs are fully activated right here. Her hips are not activated at all. All right, go ahead, drop down, Brittany. Thank you so much. Woo! She's like, what is she doing to me? Killing me over here. All right, the second thing is the stability ball crunches, right? So crunches can get a bad name, but most of the time that's because we're doing them wrong. So Brittany's going to show you on what it looks like when someone's doing a crunch using the hips, right? So when we're using the hips, we're bending here. You see how this can get confused with a crunch? I know, don't fall, Brittany. Don't fall. Okay. Yeah, remember how to do it wrong. So I want you to rock it up. Right? Right, so see, she's having a lot of hip movement here. A lot. We're really activating the hips. But it looks like she's doing it right? But the thing is that she's not getting the most effective workout in. She's actually also using a lot of her low back. That might be another reason why you're getting some low back pain. All right, so what you want to do is you want to push through the heels again. You want to have your low back on the ball. Yeah, go ahead, get readjusted here. Good. Don't be falling on me now. All right, now she's going to push up through the heels and she's going to squeeze those glutes. And she might lift those hips up just a little bit. Good, so as you can see now her hips are completely isolated. And she is bringing the rib cage closer to the hips. Yes. All right, so you can practice this. I definitely recommend doing this on the stability ball. It is definitely more effective than doing it on the ground. It's a lot more comfortable and a lot more effective. So now you can see the difference between an active plank, how to do that correctly, and then also doing stability ball crunches as well. So I hope that was super helpful for you guys. Thank you, Brittany. So helpful. And so those are some 2 great exercises that you can do to strengthen your abs, but also pay close attention to if those hips are activated or not. So why do you want to practice core engagement? Let's kind of bring that back to close off here for a second. So during exercise, we want to engage our core always. Even if you're doing squats, even if you're doing an overhead press, we want you to try to bring that rib cage closer to the hips to protect that spine. Okay, so that we don't have that low back pain, so that we don't get injured, and so that we can build a really strong core. So, believe it or not, you can build core strength by engaging it throughout all your other exercises. So, even if it's a bicep curl, even if it's a tricep dip or anything of that sort, always have your core engagement in mind. So I hope this workshop was super helpful for you guys. Please feel free to rewind this and do some of these exercises with Brittany as we demonstrate them so that you can build habits on building a strong core and doing these exercises properly. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you guys later. Thank you guys. Have a good one.